This morning on the Huddle, we are going to continue our conversation on helping you find your passion, find your voice on YouTube so you can get more views and grow your channel in 2021 and then 2022. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, huddle up, because it is definitely time for the Huddle. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to the Huddle. I'm your host, Walter Strong. If you're new here and you want to find your passion, unlock your potential, and discover God's purpose for your life, then I want to welcome you to the show. This morning, we have another great, tremendous guest that we have brought before you through God's favor. Hey, I call it like I see it. Yeah, I gotta call it like I see it. When God gives you favor with some great people in the world of YouTube, you gotta acknowledge him. So let me introduce him and share his bio. Today's guest has obtained over 2 million subs and 1 billion views on YouTube. He and his wife, Judy, have been on YouTube for a little more than a decade. They have seen the ways that YouTube has changed. Benji also works along with his partner Sean Cannell on their channel called Video Influencers, where they have been working along to help creators to build their influence, build their income, and impact online videos. This morning on the Huddle, we want to welcome the one, the only, Mr. Benji Travis. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Walter. Good to be here. Love that intro. Those were some bumping beats, and excited to get into the interview.
Great. To those of you who are watching us on YouTube, we want to welcome you this morning. Let us know in the chat where you're watching us from, because we have a great interview. Benji, let me ask you our first question. How did you find your passion to want to be a video influencer in the world of YouTube?
Well, first off, I want to define what passion is. I think that you can be passionate about things and you can have a passion in life, and they can be one in different things. And so let me explain. First off, my first true passion is my marriage, fatherhood, and serving people, period. And so I want to revolve my life around those aspects that I am passionate about. So the reason I'm passionate about uploading to YouTube and being an influencer as a consequence of that is because it leverages my time. So when I first started stumbling onto this thing that we call YouTube, I was working at this place called the YMCA. So for anybody maybe outside of the country, that's just a health fitness facility. A lot of kids go there, and I worked at the teen center, and I remember thinking, what are these kids watching on the computer? Because we have this like computer lab, and they were watching breakdancers from all over the world, especially here in the States. I grew up with breakdancing in my community, and so the kids, just always did the next generation. They were always following the older generation. And so they were learning from these kids on this thing called YouTube. They were just watching these videos. And back in my day, Walter, I'm sure you could remember this as well.
Yes, sir.
To watch anything, it was on a VHS tape or TV. And so I learned how to breakdance from other people from these VHS tapes, but these kids were learning online in real time. And so they were just getting better. And so I realized that, hey, this is a thing. And that was like in 2006, 2007, the early days. And I used that platform really as a utility, and I was able to promote our breakdancing battle that we had in our community. It became one of the biggest events in the Northwest. We had people from California, Oregon. I'm based in the Seattle, Washington area, by the way, Alaska, Canada. So all up along the West Coast, coming to my small little town north of Seattle. And it was because of this thing called YouTube. Now, obviously, the breakdancing battle was the center of it, but that was my first experience. So I became passionate about using YouTube because it was a great way to leverage my time. And it's been that way ever since I started with my wife, who truly introduced me to the possibilities of this thing that changed the world.
Wow, breakdancing. I remember back when I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, when we used to watch shows like movie shows like Breaking, Beat Street. And then later on, as I got here in Long Island, New York, I stumbled across a movie called Battle of the Year.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, man. We definitely going to have to do a follow-up YouTube show on the history of breakdancing, because those were truly and believe it or not, Benji, I wasn't really a good dancer, but when it came to breaking, I threw myself in that. And man, going to skating rinks and parties and having battles and just everyone just having fun. Wow, that you bring back some memories there.
And, of course, the history of hip hop, I believe almost everything started with the b-boying culture. And the reason was that was like the center of attention. Obviously, the DJ was playing the music. There's different aspects of hip hop. But when it comes to breakdancing, what's interesting, everything was for the battle. It was for people. And so when you think about the history of this art form, and this is going to all make sense and how it relates to YouTube, why I'm passionate about it, to learn breakdancing, you're watching a VHS tape or something you saw on TV. Some of these movies that you mentioned, you would watch them whenever it would show on the television programming. So you had a limited amount of time to be exposed to this. And then the rest you kind of had to figure out by yourself. With the invent of not just internet, but especially YouTube, you could watch every other breakdancer in the world. And I know it's called b-boying, by the way. Breakdancer is just like the traditional, the way that mass media knows how to say. But to watch any breakdancer all over the world at any given time and learn their moves was so powerful. And I would argue not only did it explode the art form of b-boying, which is breakdancing, but I think just hip hop culture, hip hop music. And of course, it did this for other art forms, other cultures, other music types. Point being, this is why I'm so passionate about YouTube, because no matter where you're at in the world, if you've got this hobby that you think is obscure or kind of weird or different, there's probably somebody else in the world that would connect with you. And we can do it through this thing called YouTube and social media. And this is why ultimately I'm passionate about it, because it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in LA or New York City. I mean, think about the hubs of the b-boying culture. It was West Coast, East Coast, right? New York City, LA. No longer is that the case. You can be anywhere you want, and you can partake in any kind of niche, any kind of industry, any kind of like subculture, even like b-boying, because we're all connected. And that is really powerful when you sit back and think, especially people from our generation, Walter, right?
Yes.
Where before we had to wait for that movie to come out. Now it's at the fingertips.
Yes, definitely. And if you need to watch a little You Got Served and get inspired, and so you can do another great video or put some great content on, just watch you some You Got Served and you hyped and ready to do it. Hey,
absolutely.
Great point. Great point. Benji, YouTube is definitely growing as a platform with new and different types of creators, just creating all different things. But what advice would you give to new YouTube creators about being able to find their voice? And I bring that question from the book Michael Hyatt's Platform, because YouTube can be a very noisy platform, just like the world. How do you find your voice in YouTube?
Well, I think that we can all have different voices, or maybe we're a little lost about which voice to pick. One exercise I go through is ask yourself, what do you have the most fun doing in a day? Or where do you find yourself speaking the most powerfully? For example, like in my day, I have different things I'm doing. I'm cooking breakfast, love to, bust out a recipe. I love hanging out with the kids. I rode bikes with the girls yesterday. I'm hanging out with my wife, watching movies. I'm a gardener. I just love to exercise. I rode the Peloton bike this morning, and then now I'm on YouTube, right? So there's all these different things that could be our voice. And we have different messages we may want to communicate. What's the one that number one resonates with you the most and probably is going to resonate with other people? And usually you can find this where you have the most fun. And so how I found my voice and leading to the channel Video Influencers was when I first started out, I was more behind the scenes. When my wife started her YouTube business, I was helping her with the camera stuff, the lighting, the business, emails, just creating a business for her to be able to do this sustainably. And one thing I realized, I was learning a skill that I was passionate about because my love for business and just making money, let's be real. And then also just supporting her as somebody in her corner rather than being the YouTuber. Believe it or not, I actually have more passion supporting other people being the influencer than me being the influencer. However, over the course of years and years and meeting people like my friend Sean Cannell, who's a co-author of YouTube Secrets.
Yes, sir. I want to give a shout out to him. Definitely.
Thank you. I realized that my voice came through loudest when I was supporting other creators, other full-time influencers. And so in conversations I had, I could tell like this person is really listening to what I have to say. And I took note of all those moments, and then out comes Video Influencers. Now, Video Influencer initially started to create a community to promote our book, but that's where I really found my voice and what I want to really share with the world and communicate to anybody that want to listen about YouTube and just online video in general.
Man, boom, boom. When you approach things from serving and a part of just supporting and helping other people's gifts comes out, God has a way of bringing you to the forefront. Hey, I want to give a shout out to my girl, Letitia Campbell, the #1 sales system strategist when it comes to email marketing. We want to thank you for being in Washington on the show this morning. Benji, let me ask you our third question. YouTube also has a way of encouraging people to see this economy, this creators economy, and individuals now more than ever want to become full-time creators. What advice would you share with individuals before they try to quit their day job and want to get away from the boss that they love so much? What advice would you give them on starting their journey and being a full-time creator?
Well, start planting seeds right away. So I told you I was a gardener. I love starting plants from a seed, but it takes a while. And so the thing is, once you plant that seed, there's nothing you can really do. Like you plant it, you put the dirt over it, you water it, and you're going to have to wait a day, maybe a few days till something sprouts. And even then, it's going to be weeks until it's something significant. And then you know the story. I mean, like months later, you're finally picking fruit off that tomato plant. So YouTube's the same way, and there's no need to jump head first, dive into the deep end when it comes to YouTube. So when it comes to quitting your job specifically or making the leap full time, it doesn't all have to happen in the course of 1 week. I suggest that everybody start planting the seeds right now. And it might be multiple seeds. Not all those seeds are going to sprout. So figure out which plant, figure out which niche, which I guess channel type, what kind of content you're going to create, who you're going to communicate to, who's the audience that you want to reach before you do all that, because you want a little bit of momentum going into it. Now, going full time or doing this like as a career change can mean different things for different people at different parts of your life. How much resources do you have? Do you have enough to last you 6 to 12 months? Because guess what? That's how long it's going to take. Even when you make the leap full time, there's ups and downs with algorithm changes and platforms evolving. So I believe that people should get started way before they go full time. I know that for me personally, even my wife, that's how we treated it. My wife, when she first started, she was working 2 jobs, going to school full time. Ironically, she didn't do anything with school, right? Like she learned a lot. She went to University of Washington, but she found out this was her passion. But nevertheless, she wasn't making that full commitment right from the get-go. Even me, even though I could have gone full-time earlier, I was still running my business. I had run a real estate business that actually was failing initially, and because of YouTube became more successful. But even then, in 2011, I finally left, even though I didn't need to leave and I was making pretty good money. But again, like, I knew the potential of YouTube. Point being, all those plants, all the fruits of our labor came from seeds that we planted years and years ago. So start right away. Don't hesitate, and don't overthink it at first, because all of this, all these seasons that you're going through right now before you go full time, that's giving you the experience and expertise to know what to do when you do make that leap into full time YouTube.
Hey, if you're getting great value out of this discussion on finding your voice on YouTube, those of you who are watching this live, give us a hashtag value. And to those of you who watch the replay, we truly appreciate you who watch the replay. Give us a hashtag replay. You know, I got the book here. Got it yesterday. YouTube Secrets. You know, I was first thinking about going audio, and I was like, no. I got to put my hands on this. Mark,
got to get the book.
Got to get the book, my notebook. So we got YouTube Secrets. Why did you and Sean felt it was so important to lend your voice and speaking to this issue on revealing the YouTube secrets?
Yeah, you know, I'll go back a little bit of history of Sean and I. We met when arguably we were at the lowest part of our financial life. Sean at the time had a couple houses that were going into foreclosure or short sale. I don't know exact circumstances. And I was losing properties as well. At the time, even though later my business did actually end up succeeding, I was a failing real estate agent. This is during the real estate crash. So it's interesting that we met around the time where we weren't doing so well. And if it wasn't for YouTube, arguably that could have been years and years and years of us struggling through day jobs, through different businesses. But YouTube totally changed everything around for us. At the same time, my wife was also thriving because of YouTube. And so combination between my business getting turned around by YouTube, my wife becoming a full-time YouTuber, and we live in this small farming community turned suburb in the North Seattle area. And that's where also Sean is from. And for all of this to happen because of this platform, and then years later, both Sean and I were able to have our full-time lives based off of YouTube. We're like, hey, we have to write about this thing initially about online video. And so hence why the name of the channel is Video Influencers. But as we were writing the book, see, the YouTube Secrets wasn't the original title. As we were writing the book, it became very clear to us how significant YouTube was and how it really set itself apart. Even though I know that most people wouldn't think of it as social media, it really still is a social platform. We're all connecting with specific people. And that connection is what makes a YouTuber so significant, I believe, in the world. But it really was ahead of the pack. It's the best search engine in the world, I would argue. And the only one that's better by numbers is Google. But to be frank, I mean, Walter, if you're going to look up a recipe, would you rather look up a blog from Google? Or would you rather have a video on YouTube?
Go to a video, Benji Man's TV, if you want some great food.
Oh, by the way, that wasn't a selfish plug. Okay. So we realized that this thing that was changing our life was also changing other people's lives, but people didn't even, I think, realize this. And, you know, to this day, there aren't a lot of books about YouTube, believe it or not. A lot of the books out there are from other YouTubers really talking about their own life and how YouTube's changed. The difference with our book is we talk about a lot of other influencers, a lot of other creators and how they've succeeded. And it's not just the unicorns or celebrities. It's also the everyday people running a business or people you never heard of making 7 figures. You know, to this day now, there are other books, YouTube Formula by Daryl Eves, that highly would recommend that. But outside a few other authors, there's not that many. So we saw an opportunity also for ourselves to be really the first ones to take it very seriously, to put out something that would help people that are just starting out. Hence, you get YouTube Secrets. And so it's always been a passion of ours, and we never thought we'd be a author, I guess. But we wanted to reach an audience that wasn't really utilizing YouTube the way that we know we could and other people were.
Definitely. And the thing about it is what I've been following you and Sean now, I want to say back as far as 2018. And even when I was just kind of just playing around with this, and more as you guys would do video influencers, and then you would start talking about your book, you became a trusted authority, become a trusted voice that even new creators can say, okay, who can I listen to? Because like you said, sometimes people have their own motives and agendas, but when you see someone who truly is an authority and has a voice, and they're also taking the wisdom from other people, that's just great value. If it's so much great value for me, I know it's great value for you. So, hey, give us a thumbs up, hashtag value, hashtag replay. And to those of you who watch the replay, let me share these two last questions and get you out of here, because we got to get ready for video influencers on the East Coast at 1 p.m. Yeah, got to get ready for it. We hear so much in the YouTube community about burnout. What advice would you give to a person who's hit the wall right now? They don't want to recognize it as burnout, especially in this society with mental health. What advice would you give those individuals? Maybe not today, but tomorrow.
Yeah, well, burnout obviously is a real thing. I think that Walter, you and I, as men who have families and have worked for a living, like burnout could happen at any moment to anybody, not just uniquely to YouTubers, and it's for different reasons. For YouTubers specifically, I believe one of the number one reasons people are getting burnt out is because they're just doing something they don't love anymore. My wife, when she first started, was sharing her tips about makeup. So hairdos, anything to do with beauty and looking better. And she was amazing at it. And she put out videos at least once a week, if not twice a week, built an audience of 1 million plus subscribers just on that channel. During that time, we also started a side channel for her. It was my idea to just put up casual content. That became our daily vlog. It's Judy's life. And so there was one point where she just didn't have any more passion for the beauty. And what most creators will do is they stick to this thing because they feel like that's where their audience is, and they just need to keep working it. It's just a grinding thing. My wife had no qualms with just leaving that behind. It's not like she deleted the channel. It's just like, hey, you know what? I'm starting this family. I'm starting this new life. No pun intended, but it's Judy's life is where I want to start creating. And so as she was having more kids, she started a third channel, and that was about being a mom. That's called It's Mommy's Life. And so she's been doing this for 10 plus years. I think 14 specifically. This year will mark 14 years. And she's uploaded well over 4,000 videos, maybe like 4,200 videos or more. And she uploads 5 times a week, Walter. And so these are edited, produced pieces of content that are anywhere from like 8 to sometimes 15, 18, 20 minutes long. How has she sustained it? It's because she always followed her passion. Not to bring it like I wasn't even planning this.
Hey, but it goes right back to it, right?
She just followed her passion. And when her passion changed, that means that she had to leave things behind. Now, it's not like she might not revisit it, but at that time, what really resonated to her in her life was something different. And when you're, I'd say, conscious of this change and you can evolve with it, you're just going to generally be more happy. And so what's interesting is when you're happy, you have endless, infinite amounts of energy to work really hard. This is why I think it's very arbitrary for people to put out these numbers like, oh, you should only work 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 80 hours is too much. Oh, you should work 5 days or 7 days is crazy. Well, depending on how happy you are, and this isn't for everybody, but I think most of the people that are very successful, there's this drive in them because it doesn't feel like work. It's almost like play. Like my wife, she is genuinely happy and joyful when she edits. For most other people, it's a task. So, I don't know about you, Walter, but the thing that I'm joyful of is eating. Okay. So if I could, I would just eat 24/7. I'd eat all kinds of foods. But for me, it's not like the same. With her, she just loves to edit. But I will also say this, there's balance. And so I think
great
this
point.
comes into another question you're going to ask me a little bit later, but balance is really important, and remembering when to take a step back and rest, knowing when you need to focus somewhere else. So there is another strategy of ours to keep that. But the number one piece of advice I'd have to anybody that is burning out is really assess your life and see, like, is this what you really want to be doing? Because if it is, even through hard times, you'll be able to grind through that. And it won't even be a grind. It's just like, hey, this is what I love to do. And nothing's going to change that. And so I do believe my wife is one of the greatest examples. And I use it. In fact, in my next book, I'm talking about how her following her passion has been able to sustain her all these years to be so consistent. And she's never once had like this hard wall burnout. She's definitely had those hard seasons, but she's never stopped. And I'm just waiting for the day where she like turns around and is like, I really want to quit today, but she hasn't done it yet. And it's been 14 years. So
she's truly modeled the example of what living a balanced life is, not just as a wife, but just as a business partner for you.
Well, I think
Sean.
Well, number one, following your passion, and then finding the balance in that, I think is the key.
Great. Hey, let me ask you this last question here. If you were starting all over, you and your wife were starting all over, Sean was starting all over again, what are 3 things you would look to do different?
Well, the first thing I would say is I wouldn't want to change anything. One thing I've realized about life is the adversity, the mistakes, the ups and downs. That's what makes the person. That's what builds the character. And that's what hardens us for future challenges. So I just want to put that out there. But however, we all like to kind of fantasize and go back in time like, man, if I only bought that lottery ticket and picked those numbers, right? So if I was, there are 3 things I would do. Number one, I would commit 100% to YouTube rather than looking at all these shiny objects. I'm not worried about other social media platforms. Of course, I'm also planting seeds along the way, but 90%, if not more, of my focus when I'm first starting out is all YouTube. One of the things that I don't think I could have ever realized, and I think this title of our book is a great example. I could have never known the potential of this platform and how powerful search is and the evergreen power. So YouTube it keeps sending you views even while you snooze, right? You're getting those clicks and people's eyeballs on your content, and you uploaded it years ago. That's because of YouTube. There's no other platform, at least for video, that can even compare. TikTok, it comes close, but the discovery is nowhere near the search power of YouTube. So number one, I would commit 100%. When I say 100%, I would just be way more committed to YouTube than it ever was. Secondly, I would take advantage of the power of search. So I would create content, especially in the very beginning, that would be evergreen, that would last for years and years and years. One of the beautiful things is, both Sean and I have different channels. My wife, she's built some channels. There's videos from years back, including my food channel, that I still get 10,000, 100,000 views on every single month. And so that's because of search. That's because, like, one example was popcorn made on a stovetop. Okay. I still rank oftentimes at least in the first page, if not the top 3, if not the first one. And I made that video, I want to say like 6 years ago, and it still gets views. So I'm creating as many videos based on what people are searching, and I believe will still serve people for years to come. The third thing I am doing is I'm not afraid to start something new. In fact, some of the biggest opportunities we've ever seen on YouTube and social media are from the people willing to do something different. And so, for me personally, in 2015 at the height of our vlog career. I mean, it's still going strong. We love all of our viewers, but during that time, viewership was just crazy because I think my wife was just doing something that's so abnormal, which number one was having twins and sharing that whole experience. I'm like, there just wasn't very many people. She was literally editing the vlog the day of her birth of the twins, right? I offered to edit. Anyways, during that time, you would think you'd want to go all in on this thing called vlogging. But I knew, number one, that there was going to be so many other people that want to do this. I already saw it happen with Judy. I saw it happen with Sean and hundreds of other people. And secondly, I knew that my heart was not going to be in this vlogging thing because we do it daily. I'm like, well, we're not going to daily vlog forever. But I know I always want to support and serve these future influencers, these creators who are just starting out. And so this is why I agreed to, number one, write the book with Sean, and to start this channel called Video Influencers, because I knew that's where my heart was. And so I'm glad I did that. But if I was to start all over again, I probably would have planted that seed way earlier. The cool thing about planting seeds, it's not like you have to tend to it every single day or every single week. In fact, if you can only upload one video per month, that's still better than waiting years and years and years and years to upload later. Because let's just take 3 years. That's 12 videos. That's 24 videos. You know, that's a pretty good library. And one video per month is really not that hard. And the good thing about that kind of consistency is you start building a little bit of experience. You start understanding what audience you resonate with. You start paying attention to what works, what doesn't work. And then the algorithm, this is getting a little geeky, but we're not going to end it here. The algorithm is going to get the data from you, your content, and the viewers that like your content to be able to better serve your uploads to the right people. And so this is why, I mean, I've said planting seeds way more than I normally do, but there is something powerful about planting those seeds very early, because you never know when those things will fruit like a huge apple tree. And if you ever seen an apple tree, like at its height of maturity, there's just apples falling everywhere. And that's kind of the same thing with YouTube. Like out of nowhere, your channel will just blow up. A video will go viral and it'll change your life.
Hey, question of the day for my viewers and those of you who are going to watch the replay. We normally give the question of the day before the end, but I think I need to put it right here. Here's the plug. What are you doing to plant the seeds on your YouTube channel today, so that way you can see the views that you say you want? You can see the subscribers that you want. Drop down in the comment section, and those of you in the chat, let us know what seeds you are planting, and are you planting them with an expectation? Because Benji is a gardener, and he understands no gardener just goes out there and starts trying to plant seeds of corn, and they have no expectation, not willing to trust the process. So give us your feedback in the comment section. Benji,
there you go.
Tell our viewers where they can find you, how they can get the book, and we want to give a plug for Video Influencers here on the East Coast at 1 p.m.
Thank you very much. Well, it's 8:30 a.m. right now, but 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I have a show called The VI Show. I interview different creators, different influencers, and that happens on Video Influencers, our channel, Sean and I's channel. YouTube Secrets, you can get this at Amazon, Audible. We've got an audiobook. In fact, that's probably the most popular right now. And those would be the two places where you can find me and more about what I do for creators and influencers.
Great. Hey, I know you've been getting great value out of this discussion. This truly has been an epic interview. And Benji, I want to thank you so much. Hey, if you've gotten great value, which I know you have, just do me a favor, share this live stream, share the replay to encourage another YouTube, encourage another content creator. If you haven't had a chance yet, we want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. And we're going to bring this to a close. And again, thank you, Benji. We're going to ask Benji just to hang out a few minutes after we go off live. But we always close saying, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that will prevail in your life. Make a quality decision to plant your seeds today and let God's purpose prevail in your life. We will see you next week on the Huddle.